So the story of Peter Withe continues. 2 league championships, a League Cup, but his greatest glory was about to follow. Look out for YouTube Part 3 as the story of Peter Withe continues.
The European Cup season, it was disappointing from a league point of view, but was that because the target was to go and win the big pot? Was the whole focus towards the European campaign?
I don't think it was a whole focus. I think the biggest thing was when Ron left in the quarter-final stages, and I think that galvanised the team and the players, because we were all disappointed that he'd left the club, because of what we'd achieved with him, and we felt as a team we were going to go on to win it. So I think it was one of them sort of situations where we'd sat around, and I always remember that when it happened, there was a meeting called at the training ground, and Ron Bendel, as you know, was the owner and chairman at the time, and he had a son called Donald Bendel. And I always remember we were all called into the room at the training ground, and he stood up to make a speech. So this is a guy who's standing up making a speech who's just a little bit older than me, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, what are you going to be saying now? So he started to say, about the club and about things that happened, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, okay. And then he made a fatal error, and he started to try and criticise Ron Saunders, and I just basically stood up and I said, "I've had enough now," and I walked out. And then Dennis followed me, Jimmy Rimmer followed me, and someone else, Ken McNaught. We walked out in the end, and we thought, we're not having that. I'm not having you criticising the manager that's done what he's did for the football club. Whether he's left for whatever reasons, you shouldn't criticise someone who's done what he's done for the football club. So in the end, I think it galvanised us all. We were all ready. When we got to the final, and everyone said, foregone conclusion really, 13 international players playing and on the bench, and we've got 2 international players who were there. So it was one of the sort of them situations that we just felt that we were a good side. We were hard to beat. We were resilient. We were fit. And if they underestimate us, then they could get stung, basically.
I remember the game vividly. We were under pressure for large parts of it. They were all bicycle kicks and great technique, and obviously we had the shock after 9 minutes or so when Jimmy Rimmer's shoulder, which was questionable before the game, came to pass that he had to come on. Young Nigel Spink, with only 1 league game to his credit, that at Forest 4 years before, a very, very patient number 2 had to come on and be the hero. There really was a collective spirit that was unbreakable from the championship team, and indeed for Tony Barton, who was very much part of Ron Saunders' team as well. That kept the side together even if Ron wasn't there.
He kept the side together because I think if they would have went and got a new manager, I think that the new manager would have wanted to stamp his authority, and maybe he would have changed the team or changed things round or brought players in. Where Tony knew all the players, had a hand in a lot of the players who were signed, instigation and me signing for the football club, because he was assistant manager but really wasn't on the training field. He used to go out doing all the scouting, organising all that. So everything behind the scenes, Tony done all that. And it wasn't until he sort of was asked to take over that he just galvanised again, came in, and really just said to us, look, nothing's going to change. We're just going to do what we've done before, and we're going to continue with that. And of course, it happened, and we got through games where a lot of people thought maybe we wouldn't get through them games. But it's funny, because they show the highlights of the European Cup, and they show Rumenhager doing this and all the shots and Nigel making the saves. But we had I had 2 chances early on in the game. I had a header that maybe, I think it was Ron Atkinson who was on the thing, said he should have scored with it, but it wasn't one of them. I should have hit the target more so than anything. And then I had a second one where I tried to curl it in the top corner. But the most important thing was in the 67th minute.
And that was a funny goal, wasn't it? Because Tony Morley did his wonderful trickery down the left-hand side, turned the Bayern defender inside and out. The cross was a grass cutter across the pitch in front of the goal. I don't think he intended that either.
No, I think he did. I think
was that what he was supposed to do?
I think. Well, I ribbon him. You see, I keep saying to him, well, "You were having a shot trying to score." I keep ribbing him on, but I think that he had this sort of inkling where, because I was always in the box.
Yes.
It was my job to get in the box, and it was sort of one of them situations where he'd broken free, and if you watch the video, you'll see the player that marks me is a fella called Argentile, and I had this. What I said to you about wherever the centre half was, I wasn't.
Yes.
And I drifted off him in the middle of the goal, and then the ball come across. And what I'd said to you is about practicing. I used to go out practicing for hours upon hours. If I missed a chance, I'd go out and practice. And if you noticed that I'm a left-footed, but actually scored the goal with my right foot, because I knew the technique of that. I had to bend it in with my left foot into the opposite corner of where it was come from the goalkeeper. But because of my position of my body, I actually couldn't hit it with my left foot. So.
And indeed, that is. There was nothing wrong with the technique, Peter. I mean, it was just the way that it went off your half calf, and perhaps ankle.
Well, no, it wasn't my calf.
Right foot, sort of.
It hit
the post. It went in.
Yeah.
It's a painful goal to watch, but a beautiful goal as well.
It was one of them. So when I tell people that it hit a divot.
Yes,
and it did hit a divot. It just sat up a little bit, but it sat up enough that when you're striking the ball. But my mind was slow motion. Make good contact with the ball. Just make contact with the ball. So people say, how do you get all that time? I said, it's amazing. It seems to go in slow motion, but it isn't. It's at speed.
With practice, you buy your time, right?
Yes. And then it was... and then I ribbed people because I say to them, I was trying to play a 1-2 off the post, but that net stopped it coming back to me. And of course, when it happens... You know, you think to yourself, you get round, because all the supporters were behind that goal. And I was thinking to myself to get up, but... my momentum took me in the net, and I just remember the picture of me holding on to the net, so there's all this looking at the supporters, and
What was that like?
Well,
holding the net, falling into the net with Shaw and Moore there.
Well, it wasn't, because what happened was...
What was that like, that moment?
It ended up that I went into the net, and in, again, slow motion, but it's in the speed. The first person who got to me was Shorty, who jumped round me, and then the second person who got to me was Gordon Cowans. And I can't repeat what he said at the time on camera, because he just remembered him dragging me to the floor saying, "Get down, you big whatever." And then we fell in a heap, and then it was just celebrations. But I think, most people will remember 67 minutes. Well, the next sort of time frame of 23 minutes seemed to... It didn't for us, but it seemed to take forever I was talking to Kathy, my wife, afterwards, and all the girls, and they said, it's dragging on, and chances were going in, and then they scored a goal, which was disallowed. But I was saying to the players, I said, look, just hit it in the channels. I'm still full of running if we get them in the channels, and we just keep... I remember picking up balls in the corner and playing them back and pinging them round. So
I've got to tell you, Peter, on behalf of every Aston Villa fan of my vintage, and maybe 3 or 4 years younger, thank you. Thank you so much for what you did that night.
Well,
it gives me great courage and great pride that you did that for our great side. I knew their Villa history. I came about in the sort of the early 70s, saw Villa in Division 3. We had that great side in the late 70s, but the side of the early 80s gives me warmth and courage to go to Brentford, see us lose 3-0, this side in the second tier of English football. What you guys did, how you organised yourself and how you won, I can't thank you enough for that, because it gives us great courage and warmth for the rest of our Villa lives to watch that.
I think really that when we look about it, when we look at the team that Ron had built, I think we had a very resilient team. My personal point of view, I think they were broken up too early.
Yeah.
I think we had some very mature players, and we should have done and we started to do it, but they just done it too early. What they should have done is just kept the team together and then replaced a little bit at a time, and unfortunately we didn't. We replaced too early, too soon. And I always remember Doug saying to me, he said, "I'll give you another 1-year contract." So I was 33 at the time. And I said to him, "No, I can play for another 2 or 3. He said, "No, your knee's a bit dodgy and one thing and another." And I just remind you now, Doug, I finished my last game at 39.
Changed for Peter Withe after that forever. He is Aston Villa's Sir Geoff Hurst. I don't think that's an exaggeration whatsoever. And just as his career went through so many continents, so did his managerial one. A Premier League manager, an assistant manager, but would you believe unprecedented success in the Far East as well. Look out for part 4 of the Peter Withe story on YouTube.